So our scenario is that we have light rays as an example of an incoming rays, and then we have a wall and a screen,
Mhm.
and we're talking right now about how one of the properties and behaviors of waves is that if this light that is coming from left to right, if it happens to hit in a screen and then also experience an opening in that screen and a small hole here,
Mhm.
if the incoming rays are waves, if they follow the properties of waves, what follows the properties of waves? For example, water waves. Water waves falls into properties of waves. If there are water waves, for example, and they're
Mhm.
facing this kind of opening, now what is going to happen is different than what we expect. Maybe we originally expect that a little bit of water is going to pass through this and then continue going, but that's not what's happening. As soon as the water passes through this, it experiences it experiences the uh, diffraction. Okay, and the
Mhm.
diffraction means that it goes into different directions and it actually expands. Okay, so that's one of the
Mhm.
properties of waves. If this incoming ray that we were talking about was water wave, this is what we're expecting, and we can experience it. We can design a water pool, and then we can design a wall, and we can make a little hole and see how water waves are going to pass through that water, that through that hole, and they're not going to follow in a straight line. They're going to get diffracted, and they're going to get expanded into different directions.
Mhm.
And that's one of the properties of waves. And now, why this is very important is because now let's switch to something else. We're not talking about water in this case. We're going to talk about light. So this is the ray of light. Okay, it could
Okay.
be any color. It could be red light, blue light, or it could be a combination of all colors, which is equal to white color. So it could be a white color ray coming through
Mhm.
an opening. So all of this is like wall, and then we have a small hole here. Now, prior to this experiment, people thought that light travels in a straight line.
Mhm.
So what is expected to happen is that one light ray should come here, and the other ones get like trapped and they cannot pass through. Only one light ray or two light ray is going to happen. It's going to get to that direction. But when you do this experiment, you realize something interesting is that light is not actually traveling in that direction, and it's going to get diffracted. So what actually happens to the light ray is that as soon as it goes open to through that opening, it gets expanded.
Mhm.
Now, it took scientists a lot of years to find out about this. And originally, they tried it on water and they saw, okay, water behavior like waves. So, this is probably a property of wave that if wave travels through a small opening, it gets expanded and we call it deflected and diffraction. Now, again, one scientist maybe was interested and say, let's try light. Let's see, light does the same thing. And then as soon as they saw this, they made a conclusion, okay, light travels in a straight line. We know that because if you block it with some object, you get shadow and it's very sharp, and you can see that light travels in a straight line. But it also follows the properties of wave. So not only lights are going in a straight line, but they're going in a wave form. And that was the beginning of finding out the property of light, which is light is a wave form
Mhm.
of movement, which is traveling and carrying energy from one point to another point. One of the examples is the energy of the sun, which is traveling through mediums to come to Earth as a form of wave. So
Mhm.
almost like the conclusion is that light travels in a straight line, yes. It also has the properties of waves. So it has basically both. So it travels in a straight line and
Mhm.
also um, in a wave form. So a combination of both, it just means that if you have a source of light and if you have a piece of paper blocking it, you get a shadow of that paper exactly the same shape, and it looks like the light travels in that, like it gets cut in that edge, and it's traveling like in a straight line. But if you get to the smaller scale, and if you make a very small hole in a wall or in a screen, and let just a very tiny amount of opening, letting light through it, then you would see that in the other side, if you put another, for example, film or screen to capture light, you see that you will get all the rays from different directions. So you get the diffraction, and you get the expansion of the rays in a case of light ray as well. And that experiment was basically showing us that light has the properties of wave as well. I just wanted to mention that as an example, so we